All right, it looks like we are live. Hello, everybody. This is meteorologist Andrew Pinero. So we have some snow to talk about. So let's get right to that. There's some new watches and warnings out there from the National Weather Service. So let's talk about that here. In the red here, mostly in Suffolk County and in some areas once you get along the Jersey Shore there, that is a blizzard warning. So the criteria for the blizzard is not necessarily the snowfall rate, but its visibility and the duration of the storm. So this is going to be lasting pretty much all day tomorrow, and we're going to be seeing very strong winds along with the snow. So blowing snow with some decently moderate snowfall rates make the visibility drop to the quarter mile, which is also another criteria for the blizzard warning, or just blizzard in general. Beyond that, in the pink, so this is a lot of areas here that are in Connecticut, going down into the New York City area, Nassau County, and that's kind of where we're seeing just a regular winter storm warning, not necessarily the blizzard warning with that visibility, but it's still going to be a pretty strong storm. The center of the low pressure, we'll talk about that coming up in just a bit. Just want to readjust something here. That should be good. Maybe a little bit too much. That looks a little bit of adjusting there. It's a fine balance, the green screen work. All right, that looks a tiny bit better. So my edge is a little bit odd, but works enough. Let me try one more thing here. All right, that looks a bit better. So let's keep on going. So those are the blizzard watches, the winter storm watches, and then the last one, which is in kind of the bluish color here, those are just winter weather advisories. So that's just a little bit more inland where we're also seeing less snowfall totals. I also have a map here that I drew, so we're going to talk about that all throughout this weather podcast. So next, let's take a look at the radar. So with the radar, we are seeing, let me see if I can bring up the comments. There we go. Hello. What was changed with the chat feature? That I'm not too familiar with, but the chat I'm seeing is kind of through the video switcher app, so it's a little bit different view of what I'm seeing than what I can see on YouTube, and I can't actually respond here. But at least I can see what you guys are talking about. So the big thing I want to talk about here, this is on the radar. So this is live radar right now. This is showing this storm has a lot of moisture or precipitable water with it. And this is going to be slowly making its way up. The big question is exactly where it's going to be. There's a 70-40 benchmark that's kind of, say, right about here. That's where we would see a big snowstorm kind of coming in, bringing lots of snowfall totals to right around the tri-state region. But it doesn't look like it's going to come that far west. However, some areas going into Connecticut, the Twin Forks, and even going into Boston area in Massachusetts, that's where it looks like we'll be dealing with a bit more snow totals. Yeah, a lot of places I've seen that are slowly upping their snowfall totals, but we'll talk about what mine are coming up here. Albany seeing 4 to 8, I don't think it's going to be that much. But we're going to see some significant snowfall totals, just not really into our area, it really looks like. So, satellite here. This is the infrared satellite. So right now this is pretty much just showing it's very disorganized, this system, but it's going to be organizing itself, and the term I've seen thrown around, bombogenesis. So this is a meteorological term which happens pretty much in every nor'easter. Another one of my meteorology friends, he was talking about this. It's a common thing in every kind of nor'easter, and it happens pretty much every winter. You have the center of the low pressure drop rapidly in pressure. That's what the bombogenesis is. It's nothing new. It's nothing it's brand new to this storm. Oh, interesting. The top chat that acts like a filter. I'll have to take a look at that when I get back to the computer screen, but at least right now I can't really see it. Actually, I wasn't talking about Joe Chaffee. Joe Chaffee and I worked together last weekend. Another meteorologist friend I was talking about, his name's John Choquette. So we graduated from college together, and he was talking about that bombogenesis term as well. I've also seen our college was talking about the bomb storm. I don't know about that. And hopefully using those terms, I did not just get demonetized with this video. Demonetized. So hopefully that sticks around. So that's with the satellite. It's kind of impressive. You can also kind of see in the satellite these multiple levels of flow. You have kind of a very light east to west kind of flow there, and then you have this very northeast flow with the storm. So now on to the forecast models. So this one, let's start out with the GFS. So this is showing the storm right there, and what the bombing out or the bombogenesis is talking about is right about there. See these black lines? Those are the isobars that we've talked about before. They get really, really dense in the middle. Let me see if I could zoom in and it shows the pressure. 962 is what the pressure is showing there. Let's see if I progress, if it shows anything lower. I think this is 959. Yeah, 959. So this pressure center of that low, that is getting into typical hurricanes are usually about that low with the centered. Yeah, blizzard hurricane. That's I was like, everybody's making up these terms, so might as well. Nor blizzardcane is what I was calling this. So with the GFS, it looks like it's taking a bit more of that easterly track. Because remember, that 70-40 line is right about there. That's where you want the center of the low to come through. So that very dense area there of precipitation. If this storm was on that 70-40 benchmark, that mass of rain, it looks like here, would be snow. And it would be kind of right in the New York City area, which would be a lot of snow coming through. However, if you also kind of look at the Twin Forks right there, that's where it's kind of right at the freezing line. So that eastern tip of Long Island can be seeing some of those more significant snowfall totals. So that's the GFS. This one is the European. So let's watch this one come up. Now this one isn't showing freezing versus rain. This is all just a precipitable water right over here. So this column here is not just showing that, again, that freezing versus rain. It's just showing the amount of precipitation in the air. And it's showing, again, that lots of massive amounts of precipitation hitting kind of just barely grazing Long Island. So this is where I'm saying my snowfall totals are kind of going to be up near the Twin Forks region, right on the cusp there of that. And these blue hashed lines, that's the temperature, or kind of what we think of the temperature with thicknesses. So this is pretty much all going to be cold. So on this side, it's all frozen. On this side, it's all liquid. That's where this low pressure center had to get a little bit more west to get that massive amount of precipitation to come over onto the cold side, and that would make a little bit more snow. So that's the European. Oh, you're still on that, Raymond? I did know what the Dixie Alley line is. However, I thought you were talking about something in upstate New York I had no idea about. So that's now we're on the Canadian. So let's watch the Canadian. The Canadian has been always the model some of us don't always like, but let's take a look at this one. So it's also showing a very low pressure there. This one, I think this is 958. 958. However, this is even more east. So this one's kind of showing maybe just some regular or moderate snow coming in through here. This is not really going to be showing too much in terms of snowfall totals. Excuse me. So the Canadian here, the CMC, is a bit more east. So let's see. That's the Canadian. Now let's go into the NAM. So the NAM here, if you watch, it's a little bit more west than the Canadian, almost in line with the GFS. However, it's still not right at that 70-40 benchmark, which is right about there. Still a bit more east. That's why these heavier amounts of precipitation are not making it into the tri-state region. They're still pretty much staying offshore again, except for Long Island. That's where these really dark blues are coming in and right at that freezing line. So that would be a pretty dense type of snow, it looks like, right at the freezing point. Let's see here. So that was the NAM. The next one I want to show you here. This one's a fairly new one. This, again, I've talked about the Deep Thunder model from IBM with the Watson supercomputer. It's just, this one, when I was looking at it earlier, was a little bit overexcited, I was calling it. This one was putting out much more snowfall totals than before, but let's take a look at this latest run here. So that's playing. It's kind of doing this little wobble where it's coming up straight north and looks like at that point it's heading straight for the 70-40 benchmark. That's where a lot of these darker blues, they're getting a little bit closer to New York City, and they're getting further west onto Long Island, even getting into New Jersey, and it looks like Rockland and Westchester County there. So that's with this Deep Thunder model. However, the latest thing it was showing is this a little bit of a due east and then north turn. So it's kind of doing this straight up, then moves a little bit, then it's doing this kind of little dance going on. But it's kind of following the rest where it's showing this more eastward track. So it's not really going to bring those heavier snowfall totals into the tri-state region, except, again, Long Island, Suffolk County going into the Twin Forks, then getting up into Connecticut, Boston. We're seeing much more snow totals right around there. And then this pretty much has it ending. So this is showing 1Z on Friday, which is about 8 p.m. on Thursday. So some lingering snow showers through tomorrow evening, and then it starts to make its way out. And then the last one with the snow here, this is the RPM model. And I was watching a few comments from another couple of meteorologists, the FIOS team that I'm working with. They were talking about how some meteorologists are focusing right on the RPM and some are kind of showing the others, but it's interesting just to kind of see every forecast model, even if it's one that you don't always trust. But this one does pretty decently. So this is the RPM. So this is showing it's kind of coming up there, right there. There's the center of the low, and it's staying pretty much east and then moves further east. So let me stop it and rewind a little bit. So this one has much more intense precipitation with these darker blues, but it's showing the low pressure is going to be a bit more east. Again, that 70-40 benchmark should be right about there. It's not there, it's close, but it's not right on that mark. It's more to the east, so we're not really seeing the heavy kind of snowfall totals. And yes, we're supposed to get another storm on Monday, but that's coming up later on once we get past one snowstorm at a time. We're kind of taking it. But yeah, we'll talk about, Raymond, we'll talk about that next snowstorm kind of coming up. And yes, there could be some icing with that one. So that's pretty much the motion. Let me just fast forward through here. And this is also showing, this is about 1Z again. Just back up a little bit. There's 1Z Friday, which is about 8 p.m. And it's showing just some, pretty much, just be out of the area. Nothing really too much. I'm still going to say there's lingering snow showers going through Thursday evening, but then it's going to be gradually clearing, and it's going to be a nicer day on Friday, nicer looking day, but the wind's still going to be with us. So now let's take a look here at these isobars. See how they stay pretty tight together, even going into Friday, which looks like a pretty dry day, but this tight pressure gradient right there, that's giving very windy conditions. So I'm actually going to say it's going to be kind of like the Arctic tundra. Well, happy early birthday, Raymond. I see you said your birthday is on Sunday. So it does look like it's going to be clear, but it's going to be feeling pretty cold. And after all of this snow happens with this next low pressure, or whatever you want to call it, coming through tomorrow, we could be seeing some of the coldest air that we've seen yet this season. And this is what I was talking with Joe Chaffee the last time I worked with him. If it was giving snow, because when we were looking at some of the forecast models, it looks like it was just going to be a total miss. However, it looks like we're getting snow now. If it does snow, this is bringing pretty much due north winds, and that's what's bringing very cold air from the Arctic Circle straight down into our area. So now the couple I do want to show you, I want to switch some of these to what the forecast models are outputting for snow totals. So let's switch now, a little bit more zoomed in. So this is the Northeast, and we're going to switch this to total snowfall. So let's rewind and go up a little bit here. So right about there, this is the GFS. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more. So the GFS here, it's very harsh with this kind of significant line to not so significant line. But it's still showing the white right there on eastern Long Island. That whiter pink, that's getting up, let me move that out of the way. That's getting up near a foot of snow. That is the GFS. Next one here, let me see. The Canadian, let's again switch into the Northeast view. And switch this to total snowfall. Now this one, this is why the Canadian's kind of interesting to take a look at. Oh, is Joe Chaffee live at the same time? That's kind of interesting. For those of you that watch both of us, Joe Chaffee and myself, we're trying to get kind of a simultaneous weather podcast thing going where I'd be streaming into his channel. He has kind of like a little sub view of me inside his live. So that's what we're trying to work on. I do have the green screen at home, so this is what we're trying to get. If not, he said he might want to come here, so we'll both be on the green screen together. Now, back to the snowfall totals. This one is with the Canadian model here. Look at the more significant snowfall totals getting into southern Jersey, Cape May area there, going farther south. And this one, that white air, that pinkish white, that's the 12-inch mark. So it's showing Cape May getting 12 inches of snow, which I don't know if I necessarily believe that. Again, this is the Canadian, so it's one of the, from my experience, one of the least reliable models. And then the next one here with the NAM, let's zoom into the Northeast region and switch this to total snow. So here, by the time all is said and done, it's again kind of showing this harsh line of the significant versus not significant snow. And we're zooming in here. Now this is the other interesting thing. This green spot, once we're getting to pinkish white, turning into a little bit of green, that's getting at the 12-inch mark from what this forecast model is showing to a little bit over 12 inches. So it's interesting to see that from the NAM, but essentially it's also showing kind of the same thing I was thinking with right around Suffolk County, that pinkish white getting near about a foot of snow. Joe Chaffee said to take the Canadian with salty roads. Yes, kind of what I've been going with as well. So that's the NAM. Now for these two, the Deep Thunder and the RPM, let's switch these here. Let's go into here and switch this to accumulated snowfall and run it. Oops, gotta change the view. We're not in the tropics, we're in the Northeast there. All right, so there it's running. And it just blows up. Thus the whole bombogenesis thing. Now let's zoom in here. It did significantly drop these snowfall totals from the previous run. So it's also still showing Suffolk County has that little patch of some more intense snow. It's not showing a number, but if we look at the legend, there we go, pinkish into white. Now, I don't know if it's going to be 20 inches of snow. That's kind of what's showing, that little spot there. If we kind of line up the colors there, 20 to 30 inches of snow. I don't know about that. This one has been kind of overzealous, overexcited. But it did bring the snow totals down, which is a bit more encouraging. We'll get to the RGM. We'll take a look at that too. Let's see here. That's the Deep Thunder. Hey there, Edwards. Welcome back. So since you missed just a little bit, I wanted to show you one of the more overzealous. Yeah, the fort on this run of, I don't know about this forecast model. So this is an experimental forecast model. It's not like officially released, but kind of just put out there so us meteorologists can pick and fine tune it and try to see if it matches up with what validates. So we'll see tomorrow if this holds true, and I'll kind of report it back to WSI and IBM. But essentially, since Edward, since you were kind of missing this, what I was talking about here, that little blob right here going into Suffolk County, that if we match up on the legend here, I'd say between that 20 and 30 inches, which is way more than I think it's going to be. And now, the last one is the regular RPM I want to show with the snowfall totals here. Well, let's see, regular RPM. And if it goes. Looks like it's not responding. I'm sure a lot of people are on the site. Let me try refreshing the page. Yeah. It's got internet. Well, thank you. I hope I will be famous one day and could do this almost every day. But hey, I get people coming up to me and saying, "Can I have your autograph?" Which is kind of neat to have now. But let's see, that's not loading. That's interesting. So hold on, let me log back in. But for a second, I'm just gonna cut this. So I'm still gonna be here. I'm just gonna cut the video stream for a second because I have to log in with the password. Let's see. No. Looks like it's not going. So I'm just going to bring myself back up here. Yeah, that's, I don't know what's going on. It's just loading there. You guys still see me, right? Well, it's nice to meet you, Ken. But, looks like I'm having fun. I'm fine with the stream, but this isn't going. Let's see. Don't know why that's not going. Unless the site just crashed. Yeah, the next biggest thing is with my YouTube channel, the total views. I'm probably about a little over 4,000, almost 4,500 views. I got to get up to 10,000, and then that's when AdSense can start, and I can start making money off this, which would be very interesting. What's the I think I know what you mean with the FCC kappa, but or it could just be the website. So many people trying to get on it. Let me just try. Oh, that's interesting. Clearly I'm on the internet because I'm streaming live. Oh, there we go. Let's see if I can get back here. There we go. Now, for some reason, the site popped up all of a sudden. So let's now switch northeast. Total accumulated snowfall. There we go. And play. So this is the RPM model that finally came up. And it's again kind of showing this pretty harsh line there of the significant snow. And let's stop right there. Now zooming in. So that green spot, that little bullseye right by the Twin Forks there, that's actually getting near 16 inches. And that's also going more into New England. But it's again interesting to see that pretty sharp cutoff there from the significant snow to not so significant. So that's interesting to see. But it looks like the site's working again. So now I know before, Raymond, you were talking about the next storm, so I'll touch on that very briefly as well. Let me go into some of the longer range models. So let's go back to the GFS. Not in snowfall. And for those of you that didn't know, I had bronchitis pretty much for the past week. So being able to talk this much and not have a, oops, sorry if I hit the mic there, not having to cough too much, that's something very nice. Let's see. Oh, no, it looks like the internet's going in and out. And let me just see. The stream health, I'm able to monitor the stream health. And it looks like it's pretty good. But I'm sure both of these websites are pretty overloaded right now. Let's stick with this one. So we'll start with the Euro, and hopefully the website with the GFS kind of catches up. So whatever you want to call that, Blizzicane and bomb storm, whatever, demonetized. This is going to be making its way out, and then behind it, very cold. This is again going to be some of the coldest air of the season. And it's also going to be pretty windy. So this is going to be Friday. Look how tight these isobars are here. That's very windy, and that's where even if a storm is completely gone, you can still have a blizzard warning. Just because it doesn't have anything to do with the snowfall rate, it has to do with visibility and the duration of how long the blizzard-like conditions are lasting. So quarter-mile visibility, which is very possible if we get this really cold, kind of dry, fluffy snow. But once that goes, so you said your birthday was on Sunday, Raymond. Let's see, here's Saturday. Now this is Sunday. So high pressure in place there, so nice and dry, but you're still dealing, especially I know you said you're up in the middle of the New York, we're still dealing near the Capital District with some breezy conditions. So it's still gonna be cold, but once I show you on the 7-day, it's kind of getting near normal, or near the freezing point, I should say. And yes, Happy New Year to you too. Happy New Year to everybody. This is my first time going live this year, which I know I haven't been in a while. And the last time I looked, I think I was live at Thanksgiving. And then the next storm that we are talking about is here. So this is going into Monday. So now if you notice this thick blue line, that's the 540 thickness line. Now the thickness doesn't directly have a comparison to temperature, but we kind of think of this 540 thickness line as the freezing point. And it's going to be pretty much going right through the tri-state region. So that's kind of interesting to take a look at, because we're going to be dealing again with some mixing, it looks like. I think I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened. I just stopped going live. I guess it's the internet itself. A lot of people are probably on it with this impending storm. Hey Erica, welcome. Thanks for joining. So we were pretty much just going through some of the forecast models. And this is for Monday. So Monday, this storm kind of coming through. This is going to be right at that freezing line right there, or the 540 thickness line. And that's pretty much going to be causing a little bit of mixing here and there. I'm thinking it's going to start out as snow. Excuse me. Start out as snow, and then it's going to transition a little bit to some mixing, then some rain, then kind of go back to mixing, and then some snow again overnight. Maybe I hit the tripwire. Maybe I was, or it could just be there's a lot of people online, which is something very possible right now. So that's the year. I want to see now if the GFS, oh yeah, this is it. So this came back up. All right, so this is the snowstorm coming through tomorrow. And let's go beyond that. Going through the weekend, it looks to be pretty dry, but still showing those isobars. They're pretty closely packed. That thickness line, let me go back. So that line right there, that blue line, it's called 540 thickness line. Essentially, it's the height in decameters. So it's 540 decameters, which is 5,400 meters. So you have a constant pressure level. We take that 500 millibar pressure level and keep that constant. And then we follow this, and you could do this with weather balloons, setting up the weather balloons to kind of track where it is. That thickness between the surface and where the 500 millibar pressure is, that thickness level, which is measured in meters, or in this decameters, that's where you can see if it's a low height, is what it's called. The lower the height, the colder it tends to be. The higher the height, the warmer it tends to be. And another interesting thing, this is kind of where if you look at the atmosphere on the globe, it's not actually a sphere. The technical term is called an oblate spheroid. The atmosphere gets thicker at the equator and thinner at the poles because of this thickness level. The atmosphere, when it gets colder, it gets denser and kind of compresses down. That's why really cold environments tend to have higher pressure levels than warmer environments. So in this case, we kind of, through scientific studies, determined that this 540 decameter thickness line is equivalent to where the freezing line is. It's not exact, and it's going to be a little bit less accurate in terms of the freezing line in the early fall and going into the late spring, where you can have the 540 thickness line north, meaning everything south of that should be warm, but you have some snow or some mixing. But in the heart of the winter, which we're in right now, the 540 thickness line and the freezing line kind of match up pretty well. See you later, Ken. So did that kind of make a little bit more sense with that 540 thickness line and how it's not directly the freezing line? Yeah, let me check the stream health. So the stream health still looks good. I don't know what happened before. All right, so that's the European, and with the GFS now. So through the weekend, looks pretty good. And then let's watch here. Now this is showing, the view I showed is showing rain and the freezing rain and snow. So a little bit of pink there. That's the freezing point. So that's showing some little bit of mixing. Green is just rain. The blue is a little bit of snow there. So this is actually going into Tuesday morning at about 7 a.m. And you are very welcome, Raymond. Hopefully that cleared it up. If you guys have any more kind of technical weather questions, you can always let me know. You can message me. You can let me know in the comments, and I'll try and do my best to explain them. I'm also going to have a video coming up. I've been saying I'm going to have it coming. I'm going to try and get it out this year with balloons. How do balloons help the weather forecasting? How do you take a weather balloon that's sent up into the air and then create a forecast model from the data. So I'm going to have a video kind of explaining that as well. And then here, so going into Wednesday, that system kind of makes its way out, but look at these isobars. It's still windy through next week. And then this one says on Wednesday, it looks pretty dry right there, but with cold and kind of dry conditions, maybe maybe a little bit of some flurries are still possible. Yes, so that's good with the weather balloons and the severe thunderstorms, but then how does that go into a forecast model? I'll try not to get too much into it because there's a lot of math and calculus equations in there, but I'll show you a little bit of these equations in that video. So that's the GFS. Let me see about the European here. Let's take that out going through Tuesday. So this is showing it's still going to be lasting even into Wednesday on the European model there. Oh, this is Tuesday, never mind. Yeah, and Raymond, I know you said you love the thunderstorm, so you probably have a lot about, and yes, CAPE. Convective Available Potential Energy. That's the sounding. And going into Wednesday. So it's cold here because, again, that 540 thickness line tends to be fairly accurate with the freezing point. So that when that gets that far south, this is getting to the Delmarva area, that's a lot of cold air. So it looks like some more snow in central New York and maybe some flurries getting down to the Hudson Valley and some higher elevations into New Jersey. So that was pretty much that. It is, I lost track of how long we were going for. Ah, there we go. Yeah, there was. I apologize for that little break in the middle. I don't know what was happening. All right. Yes. George Chalker, we're going a little nuts with that. So that pretty much wraps up this weather discussion here. Now let's go into the forecast, and I'm going to show you what I'm thinking with the snowfall totals. So tonight, it's going to be very cold. 19 degrees is what I'm saying throughout the tri-state. Once you get up a little bit more into central New York, the Capital District area, that's where it's going to be even colder than that. But still, 19 is pretty cold. And the snow does start, and it looks like it starts maybe about 2 a.m. I know a lot of school districts are starting to close and starting to have 2-hour delays. So definitely keep that in mind if you have kids going to school in the morning or if you're a teacher. So that's tonight. Then tomorrow is the snowy day. High about 29, so staying below freezing. And the other thing that's interesting, the longest stretch we've ever had of sub-freezing temperatures below 32 degrees has been 16 days in a row. And that was set back in, I think, 1961. We were at 8, I believe, a couple of days ago, so it's getting there. However, I don't think we're going to get to the full 16. So we're going to watch the temperature, say 29 there. Still bitter and windy. Look at these winds. I'm saying 20 to 30 mile per hour winds, gusting to 40 miles per hour. Because with that low pressure getting very low, near hurricane strength, low pressure center, that's getting near like the winds of, say, a Category 1 hurricane. So on the eastern part of the island, those gusts of about 40 miles per hour I have can get up to, say, 60 once you get near the Twin Forks. What was the question here? Difference between ground blizzard and the criteria for the blizzard warnings. Let me see if I can find that before we get into continue into the forecast a little bit. I'll show you just blizzard versus blizzard warning. And a great place, a great resource to show any of this, weather.gov, which is the National Weather Service, /glossary. So these are going to show the definitions of the National Weather Service. So if we type in blizzard, let me see if I can zoom that up. There we go. Can I get out of the way a little bit there? There we go. Blizzard means that the following conditions are expected to prevail for a period of 3 hours or longer. Sustained winds of 35 miles per hour or greater. Remember, sustained winds. And considerable falling or blowing snow, reducing visibility to less than a quarter mile. So it's not the snowfall rate, but it's a combination of snowfall itself or just blowing snow that reduces visibility to less than a quarter mile. So that's blizzard. Now if I type in blizzard warning, let's see if that comes up. There we go. So blizzard issued for winter storms with sustained or frequent winds of 35 miles per hour or higher with considerable fall and blowing snow with frequently reduced visibility to a quarter mile or less. These conditions are expected to prevail a minimum of 3 hours. Very similar between just blizzard and the blizzard warning, or the ground blizzard and the blizzard. So the other thing to take away from that is, even if it's a sunny day outside, that ground blizzard, that means you're having enough blowing snow to reduce the visibility to that quarter mile mark with winds of 35 miles per hour sustained. So those two criteria can be met even on a sunny day. And that's kind of where that ground blizzard comes from. So that was there. Now let's go back to, so that was tomorrow. Now tomorrow night, the temperature really starts to drop off, low around 10. And again, once you get a bit more north into, say, central New York there, that's going to be even lower. And the snow's going to be ending again, say maybe 8 or 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Winds a little bit less, but still 15 to 25 miles per hour, gusting to about 30. And now, this is the snowfall total map. I'm going to step off screen just so you can see the whole thing. So, pretty much right around Long Island. This is where I'm saying the about 12 inches. That means it could be a little bit more. I don't necessarily have like the range of say 12 to 18 inches, but we could see 12, maybe a little bit over that, a couple inches over 12, which is very possible, especially on some of those forecast models that had that little bullseye there. Then going a little bit more to the west, this is going between the border between Suffolk going into Nassau County a little bit, 6 to 12 inches there. Then once we get into this kind of column here with New York City, so pretty much the lower Hudson Valley, Rockland, Westchester, and once you get a little bit more north there, say Putnam and even getting into Dutchess a little bit, still in that 3 to 6 range. Oops, stepping a little bit too far off screen there. And then a little bit more west than that, this is getting into Orange County and the very western half of New Jersey, that's in a 1 to 3. And then once you get a little bit more north, say around Albany there, that's where that 1 to 3 could possibly be a little bit more, say 2 to 4. It all depends again on how far inland that low pressure comes. So then the very last thing here, the 7-day forecast. So snow, bitter winds for tomorrow, then going into Friday. The winds are still there. And look at this high, 18, getting down to 5 overnight. Now, Saturday is definitely going to be the coldest day that we've seen for a while. The high temperature is 11 degrees. The low, I'm going to say -1. It's going to be mostly sunny, but it's going to really feel like Arctic air, especially with those winds still in the area. Then going into Sunday, again, Raymond, happy early birthday. 21 for the high, so a tad bit warmer. 17 overnight, then going into Monday. This is where it's going to get a tad bit above freezing. I'm going to say high of about 36 there. We're going to start maybe a little bit frozen precipitation there, then maybe a little bit of cold rain in the middle going into the afternoon. Then it's going to transition a little bit more back to frozen or snowy precipitation, not really too much. That'll be lingering a little bit into Tuesday with some snow showers or flurries. Then the temperature does go a tad bit more up, right around 40, but then it starts to drop off again right around 30 for Wednesday, and that still looks like it's going to be a little bit breezy going into the end of next week. All right, so that pretty much wraps up this weather podcast for this week. I'll see if I can try and get some more weather updates tomorrow throughout the day. I do have another job, so I'll be working that, but we'll see what happens with any kind of snow. I'll try and keep you guys updated. And again, if you want to get some more weather update videos, hit that subscribe button, the little bell icon, so you get notified whenever I go live, or if I just upload a video. And I have a lot more interesting videos. The next interesting one, another thing I kind of like, is tech videos. So for 2017, I'm going to have a top 10 tech video that's going to be split into 2 parts. Numbers 10 through 6, and then 5 through my number 1 tech of 2017. So that pretty much wraps it up again. Let me bring this up here. This is meteorologist Andrew Pinero. Have a great night, everybody. Excuse me. And definitely stay safe throughout the snow tomorrow and with these bitterly, bitterly cold winds and almost like Arctic tundra conditions coming through for the weekend. And Raymond, again, happy early birthday. Have a great night.